I just remember always listening to female singers when since I was a kid, and they were always inspiring to me, and I would always sing along to them, sometimes so much that my voice would be tired.
They once stood beneath a single spotlight, 5 voices weaving together like threads of light, creating harmonies that felt almost otherworldly. But behind the breathtaking performances and global success, each member of Pentatonix carried silent burdens the world never saw. Loss, heartbreak, and moments so painful they nearly tore the group apart. Their journey is filled with triumph, yes, but also shadows that reshape their lives forever. So, what heartbreaking truths lie behind the music that made millions around the world fall deeply in love? The tragedy of the Pentatonix members. Behind the joyful harmonies, the bright smiles, and the festive holiday spirit that Pentatonix is known for, there lies a very real human story, one filled with heartbreak, pressure, the battles, and moments of big personal change. To the world, Pentatonix often looks perfect, a group of incredibly talented singers blending their voices into magic. But behind the scenes, each member has faced emotional struggles that sharply contrast with the group's polished public image. Take Kirsten Maldonado, for instance. Fans once celebrated her dreamy engagement in Paris, a moment that felt straight out of a fairy tale. But what most people never saw was the heartbreak that followed. In 2017, the wedding was called off, and Kirsten entered one of the most difficult emotional chapters of her life. It was messy, painful, and confusing. Yet, she didn't let that be the end of her story. With time, healing, and self-discovery, she found love again, and eventually married in 2024. To many, this wasn't just a romantic story. It was a reminder that even people who seem to have it all together can face life-changing disappointments and still rise again with more strength and clarity. Then there is Scott Hoying, one of the group's founding voices and creative forces. Today, Scott is happily married and openly excited about building a family. But his path to this peaceful point wasn't smooth. In the early years of Pentatonix, he often felt pressure to hide parts of himself, especially his identity. He feared judgment, criticism, and disappointing fans. Living with a secret weighed heavily on him, especially while the group's fame skyrocketed. Over time, Scott became more confident and more open, eventually choosing authenticity over fear. His personal victory became a source of inspiration to countless listeners around the world who saw their own struggles reflected in his courage. And, of course, one of the most emotional turning points in the group's history came with Avi Kaplan's departure in 2017. Fans speculated about creative issues, disagreements, or even behind-the-scenes drama. But the truth was far more human and far more heartbreaking. Avi didn't leave because of conflict. He left because he was overwhelmed emotionally. The intense touring schedule, the constant traveling, and the pressure of worldwide fame took a heavy toll on him. In a heartfelt video message to fans, Avi explained that the fast-paced lifestyle left him feeling disconnected from the things that mattered most to him: nature, peace, and family. These were not small preferences for him. They were his anchors, the things that kept him grounded. Being away from them for years at a time slowly drained his mental and emotional strength. Instead of pushing himself to the breaking point or holding the group back, Avi made the painful but honest decision to step away. His exit was peaceful, respectful, and full of mutual love. After leaving, he transitioned into folk music under his own name, embracing a slower, more natural rhythm of life. He released solo work that felt raw, intimate, and deeply meaningful, music that allowed him to breathe again. Many fans felt that Avi didn't just leave Pentatonix, he returned to himself. Another major transformation came from Mitch Grassi, the group's distinctive high tenor, whose voice often soared above the harmonies like a beam of pure light. Over the years, Mitch's personal and artistic evolution has been bold, fearless, and beautifully unpredictable. In 2025, he shocked fans by shaving his head, a dramatic change that symbolized much more than a new look. It represented a personal rebirth, a shedding of expectations, a refusal to be boxed in. Performing under the name Messer, Mitch embraced a darker, avant-garde style that was a striking contrast to the clean-cut pop image he had in the early Pentatonix days. His EP Roses explored themes of identity, vulnerability, desire, and artistic freedom. His fashion grew bolder, his stage presence more experimental, and his voice more daring. So, what was the challenge around their popular song, Hallelujah? Let's take a closer look. Controversy surrounding Pentatonix's cover of Hallelujah. The classic song Hallelujah, released in 2016, quickly grew into a huge online sensation. Pentatonix's cover of Leonard Cohen's Millions of People shared it, reacted to it, and fell in love with the group's powerful harmonies. But, at the same time, the cover also sparked a long and complicated debate that has continued all the way into 2025. What started as a simple interpretation by a popular a cappella group soon turned into a much larger conversation about art, meaning, and musical responsibility. The main complaint came from critics who felt that Pentatonix made the song too simple. Cohen's original Hallelujah contains several verses rich with deep spiritual symbolism, complicated emotions, and layers of biblical references mixed with human pain. However, the group chose not to include some of those verses in their version. To many listeners, this decision softened the raw energy and emotional depth that Cohen intended. Some said that by removing those important lines, the group had unintentionally changed the song's message, making it feel lighter and less meaningful. A number of purists, longtime fans of Cohen's work, were even more vocal. They argued that Pentatonix transformed Hallelujah into something it was never meant to be. Their biggest concern was that the version leaned too much into a warm, holiday-style feeling. This feeling became even stronger when Pentatonix included their Hallelujah cover on their Christmas album. Many fans immediately connected the song with holiday celebrations, snow-filled videos, and festive emotions, even though Cohen's lyrics were never specifically tied to Christmas. Instead, his words spoke about love, loss, faith, doubt, and the complicated way humans try to make sense of life. Because of this, some listeners thought the group unintentionally pushed the song into a new category, a Christmas anthem, something Cohen never intended. They worried that new listeners would misunderstand the true meaning of the song and miss its deeper layers. But on the other side of the debate, many people strongly defended Pentatonix. Supporters argued that the group's version was a beautiful, respectful tribute that brought the song to an entirely new generation. They pointed out that every artist reinterprets a song in their own way, and that Pentatonix's unique harmonies, emotional delivery, and vocal power gave the classic track a renewed life. They also reminded critics that reinterpretation is a natural part of music history. Songs evolve with time, and each version can touch people differently. The argument grew even stronger in 2024 when a music historian published an essay questioning whether Pentatonix's performance played a major role in reshaping the public's understanding of Hallelujah. The historian suggested that the group might have unintentionally encouraged listeners to hear the song mainly as a peaceful, spiritual Christmas piece, rather than the emotionally complicated, sometimes painful meditation Cohen wrote. But how did Pentatonix start? Let's find out. Origin of Pentatonix and first viral video. The name Pentatonix was never just a cool or random choice. It was a smart, carefully planned decision that captured both the group's musical roots and their identity as a team. The name was created by Scott Hoying in 2011, and it came from the pentatonic scale, a simple 5-note scale used in music all over the world. This wasn't accidental. The group wanted a name that reflected their dream of connecting with people globally, and the Pentatonix scale symbolized exactly that. It also matched their original 5-member structure, making it feel even more fitting. But what many fans don't realize is that Pentatonix almost chose a totally different name. In the beginning, some members worried that Pentatonix sounded too technical, too much like a music theory term instead of a group that wanted to be fun and modern. They considered other names because they feared people wouldn't connect with something that sounded so academic. But after a long, late-night brainstorming session, filled with scribbled ideas, laughter, and frustration, the group finally embraced the name's special meaning. In a 2025 podcast interview, Scott revealed something fans found both surprising and funny. The X at the end wasn't added for style alone. He explained that the X made the name feel sharper and more modern. And most importantly, it made the group easier to find online. In an age when search engines matter as much as talent, that tiny letter helped shape the group's branding and made them stand out in a musical genre many people once ignored or dismissed. Long before the Grammy trophies and sold-out world tours, Pentatonix's journey actually started on YouTube. Back in 2010, Scott Hoying, Mitch Grassi, and Kirsten Maldonado hosted a cover of Lady Gaga's Telephone. They recorded it in their Texas high school, using whatever equipment they had, with no expectation that it would become anything major. The video was originally created for a small local radio contest, not for fame or worldwide attention. Yet, the unexpected happened. Slowly but surely, the video began to spread online, and by 2023, it had crossed 1 million views. What fans didn't know at the time was that the trio almost didn't upload the video at all. They thought it wasn't professional enough and worried people might not take them seriously. But in the end, they took a chance, and that simple act of bravery changed everything. The video caught the producers of the Sing-Off's eye, setting the stage for the group's transformation from 3 high school friends into one of the world's most famous a cappella groups. In a 2025 reflection, the members called that moment the spark that lit the fuse of an entire movement in modern a cappella music. However, their success didn't come without challenges. Winning Season 3 of the Sing-Off in 2011 should have guaranteed them instant fame and industry support. Instead, the opposite happened. Just a few weeks after winning, their record label dropped them, leaving them without money, guidance, or a clear future. In a 2025 interview, Scott admitted that this was the hardest and most uncertain chapter in their career. But instead of giving up, Pentatonix turned again to YouTube, the one platform that had believed in them from the beginning. They poured everything they had into creating new covers, even when it meant self-funding their videos, sleeping on friends' couches, and dealing with constant doubt. Their breakthrough finally came in 2013 with their viral Daft Punk medley, which changed everything for them. When did they put up an emotional display, and how about the strength of their fan base? Let's find out. Pentatonix's most emotional performance and fan base. Among all the breathtaking performances Pentatonix has delivered over the years, their 2016 version of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah still stands as one of the most unforgettable. Even after many years passed, that performance remained a powerful emotional landmark, not just for the group, but for millions of fans around the world. Nearly a decade later, in 2025, Pentatonix returned to the song once again, but this time the moment carried a deeper meaning and a heavier emotional weight. They were invited to perform at a special tribute concert marking the 40th anniversary of Cohen's original release of the song. What could have been just another live performance transformed into something far more intimate, raw, and deeply touching. In 2025, each member stepped onto the stage carrying personal emotions that shaped the way they interpreted the song. For Kirsten Maldonado, the moment was especially heavy. She had recently lost a close family member, a loss that left her heart tender and her voice carrying a new kind of fragility. Every note she sang sounded like a quiet goodbye, a soft message meant for someone who was no longer physically present, but still living inside her memories. Mitch Grassi also used the performance as a way to honor others. His voice, already known for its extraordinary purity and emotional power, became a comforting beacon, something warm and steady for anyone listening who felt alone or misunderstood. His dedication reminded the audience that music is not just entertainment. It can be a lifeline. The arrangement they chose for this 2025 tribute was unique. It was recorded live in Vienna, and for the first time, they removed all vocal percussion. There were no drum sounds, no beatboxing, nothing to distract from the harmonies. The stripped-down version forced every listener to focus entirely on their blended voices, which rose and fell like slow, deep breaths. The simplicity made the performance feel spiritual, almost sacred. People in the audience described what happened next as overwhelming. Some said they felt their emotions building from the first note. Others said they couldn't hold back tears halfway through the song. When the final chord faded into silence, the crowd rose to their feet in a long, heartfelt standing ovation. Within hours of the concert, clips of the performance spread across social media. Within days, it became a global conversation. Many said it didn't feel like just a cover. It felt like a shared experience of grief, healing, and human connection. For both the group and their fans, it became one of those rare musical moments that touched the entire world at once. The Pentatonix fan base has grown into one of the most dedicated, enthusiastic, and tight-knit communities in modern music culture. What started as a simple gathering of fans many years ago has, by 2025, transformed into a powerful global network with real influence. Their passion goes far beyond liking posts on social media or showing up at concerts. Pentatonix have built scholarship programs, raised funds for young musicians, and worked together to host international conventions where fans from different countries can meet, sing, and celebrate the group they love. They have also organized mental health awareness campaigns, inspired partly by the group's own openness about their personal struggles. Some critics argue that the Pentatonix are too devoted, calling their commitment obsessive. But fans strongly disagree. They see their community as a source of empowerment, friendship, and motivation. For aspiring singers, they represent hope, discipline, and creativity. Pentatonix don't just watch content, they create it. They remix songs, design artwork, write stories, and make videos that spread across platforms. Their loyalty isn't blind. It's built on shared values, mutual respect, and the feeling that the group genuinely cares about them. In many ways, Pentatonix and their fans have created a partnership where inspiration flows in both directions. How did the Pentatonix revolutionize a cappella? Let's find out. Pentatonix transformation of a cappella. Pentatonix didn't just help people notice a cappella. They completely changed how the world sees it. Before they showed up, most people thought a cappella was something you only heard in small college groups, school competitions, or comedy movies. It wasn't taken seriously in the mainstream music world, but everything began to shift in 2011, when Pentatonix won the Sing-Off. That moment became the start of a huge transformation, not just for the group, but for the entire a cappella community. Winning the show was exciting, but it didn't instantly guarantee respect. In fact, even after their victory, many music industry insiders still doubted them. Some executives believed a cappella could never stand beside pop, rock, or R&B on the radio. They saw it as a one-time trend, something fun, but not something that could last. Others dismissed it as a novelty, nice to watch, but not strong enough to become a real musical force. Pentatonix heard all the doubts, but instead of backing down, they pushed harder. By the time 2025 arrived, the group had proved every skeptic wrong. They had earned 3 Grammy Awards, gained a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and gathered more than 20 million YouTube subscribers. These achievements weren't just impressive numbers, they were symbols of how far they had pushed the boundaries of what vocal music could be. Their rise wasn't based on luck. It came from years of hard work, endless creativity, and a fearless approach to reinventing sound. Pentatonix's arrangements became their signature power. They mixed beatboxing, rich harmonies, powerful bass lines, and carefully layered vocals to create songs that sounded almost like full-band productions. Except everything was done with the human voice. Their covers didn't feel like copies. Instead, they felt fresh, modern, and deeply emotional. That's why their videos kept going viral. One of the turning points in their journey was their collaborations, working with musical legends like Dolly Parton and creative performers like Lindsey Stirling gave the group a new level of credibility. These partnerships weren't gimmicks. They were genuine artistic exchanges that showcased how versatile Pentatonix truly was. When they sang Jolene with Dolly Parton, it wasn't just a cover. It became a cross-generational moment, watched by millions, showing how a cappella could stand proudly beside one of country music's biggest icons. But Pentatonix didn't stop at performing. Over time, they took on a new role. They became teachers, leaders, and global ambassadors for vocal music. They began inspiring school choirs, encouraging young singers to experiment with harmonies, and showing kids that you don't need expensive instruments to make powerful music. The group launched workshops, masterclasses, and educational events around the world. For many students, seeing Pentatonix perform live or participating in one of their workshops was life-changing. It opened their eyes to a kind of musical creativity they had never known before. Their influence spread across continents. Choir directors redesigned entire programs after studying Pentatonix's style. High school groups learned beatboxing. College a cappella teams started experimenting with choreography, microphones, and vocal effects. Even musicians outside the a cappella community admitted that Pentatonix changed how they think about voice arrangement. The group sparked a global movement, something no one imagined when a cappella was still seen as a narrow, niche genre. The most remarkable part of their journey is how they turned challenges into fuel. Even with critics watching closely, even with music trends constantly shifting, they stayed focused on innovation. They didn't try to copy mainstream music. They let their voices become the instruments. They shaped an entire soundscape using nothing but vocal skill and imagination. Pentatonix didn't simply survive in a world that once doubted them. They became the reason a cappella now reaches massive audiences worldwide. They gave the genre a new identity, modern, powerful, emotional, and universal. And in doing so, they left a lasting cultural impact. Their legacy proves something simple but important. When creativity meets passion, even the most underestimated art form can rise to the world stage. So, what do you think about the tragedy of the Pentatonix members? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.